Hey everyone, it's BenAtmos. Recently I analyzed how NewJeans uses English, and got a ton of comments asking me to cover other K-pop groups too. But there was one major thing holding me back. You see, the reason why I was so excited to analyze NewJeans was because I found their usage of English totally unique. If you saw my last video, you'd know they code switched, or switched languages, to English more than once per minute. I didn't think any other group could even get close. But whether or not that was true, I couldn't be sure. So I decided to start a competition. Which K-pop group speaks the most English? And which idols? There was only one way to find out. And now, over 10 hours of research later, I have the data. Our contestants are BLACKPINK, straykids, and XG.
Everybody.
Plus our previous 3.5 hours of NewJeans data. These groups were easily the most requested, and also who I personally felt would speak English the most. And yes, while XG is a global girl group, all the same concepts can be applied to them. Just because they sing in English doesn't mean they speak in English. And just like last time, I recorded data on each individual member. So we're going to find out who code switched to English the most and least in each group. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Keep in mind, words like oh my god and okay won't count as a code switch since they're commonly used in Korean. But honestly, what is or isn't a code switch is surprisingly subjective. I just tried to keep it consistent between groups. So can anyone join NewJeans in the 1 code switch per minute club? Or is there anything we can learn about code switching in general? Let's find out, starting with going into this, I knew BLACKPINK had one crucial advantage: the amount of fluent English speakers. While they have 3 just like NewJeans, they're only a 4-member group, meaning they have a higher percent makeup of English speakers than every other group. But does that actually translate into speaking the most English? We'll just have to see. Here are the episodes I used, and here's their code switch distribution in percentages. I'll be going through the members one by one, so guess who you think is who now. The exact numbers will be revealed later to avoid spoiling the results. Coming in 4th with just above 5% of total switches is Jisoo. We saw this coming. Now, just because she's the only member who isn't proficient in English doesn't mean she can't speak it. In fact, the way she uses English is very intentional. For example, she'll use it to add to the mood of a situation. Like before a food minigame, she said, "I'm hungry." Or after giving a demonstration, she said, "Perfect." These aren't fluent mid-sentence switches that you see with native speakers. These are conscious moves on her part to create a certain effect. It goes to show that you don't need to know a language to use it well. I'm even more impressed after watching how shy she was speaking Thai. Foreign languages are hard, and for someone who has never lived overseas, she fits in very well with 3 fluent English speakers. So props to her. In conclusion, I would call her style intentional. In 3rd, with 15.5% of the code switches, is Rosé. If you're like me, you might be surprised she's this low. I mean, that's less than 1/6 of the total code switches. Well, I think Rosé is one of the most unusual cases in this video. You see, unlike the other 2 fluent members, her usage of English was fairly minimal. She'd use it, but with very little consistency. And even though she grew up in Australia, she'd occasionally say things with a Korean accent.
Everybody dies. So many people.
I mean, check out this clip. She starts with an Australian accent, then shifts into a Korean one, and then just switches to Korean.
I love lemon juice. How did they know? 나 레몬 진짜 좋아하는데?
I have a few guesses as to why this is. First, since she grew up in Australia, but then came to Korea, she may have shaken a lot of English habits in that time. Or maybe there was a deliberate choice on her part to speak more Korean, thinking it was better for the show. Or she just doesn't feel the need to. We really can't know for sure. It's pretty mysterious, as out of all the English speakers I analyzed, she code switches the least relative to her group size. Let's rhyme and call her style once in a while. In second with 36.2% is Jenny.
I knew it.
Jenny is what I would call a natural speaker. She delivers full-on sentences whenever she feels like it.
I feel like I'm making a sushi. We need another bowl. You're in charge of boarding. My hubby. My wifey. Stop smoking.
와이프는 아니지만.
But still, this is monotoning right now.
It's rare to see a K-pop idol with such a frequent, natural integration of English. As to why she speaks the way she does, let's listen to her directly.
The only thing I could say when I went to New Zealand was, "Hi, my name is Jenny." I was just so happy to be around nature and have a different educational life than I had back in Korea. What's also fun was I stayed at a Korean homestay. So I also had a Korean culture around me all the time while I was living there. And I would always listen to Korean music, watch Korean movies. So I would say I was in between like Western culture and also having the Korean culture around me.
Jenny led a multicultural life in New Zealand from age 10 to 15, meaning that she didn't always know English. She had to make the conscious effort to study and navigate both the English and Korean-speaking worlds. That's why I think English is more like a rewarding skill for her. Contrast that with Rosé, who had always known both languages, and naturally lost reasons to use English when entering Korea. It could be then that Jenny may find the skill of speaking English more personal, more worked for, and more central to her identity. Or I'm just wrong. One thing's for sure. Her style is very natural. That's the best word for it. Anyways, that leaves us with number 1. It's Lisa, with 43% of all switches. Lisa brings her rap flow to her language.
Oh, what's up?
Her code switches are hype, fun, and natural.
Okay, let's do it. Oh, yo, what's up, Nini?
They really reflect her as a performer, especially since she usually raps in English. Growing up bilingual in Thailand certainly helped. She was already used to code switching, and then she just added Korean. The fact she's trilingual and has no issue swapping between all 3 of her languages just adds to her cool factor.
It's very easy to 따라해. 진짜ไม่น่าจะลืมได้ค่ะทั้งชีวิตน่าจะ
In the rare case she can't remember a word in one language, she'll just say it in another. It makes sense she's number 1. Let's call her style hype and flowy. Now the moment we've been waiting for. How does BLACKPINK stack up against NewJeans? Well, here's the actual numbers. Plus the switches I couldn't identify, which means 0.62 code switches per minute. Well, not NewJeans level, but that's still pretty high. Their English levels are through the roof. They can speak with international fans, go on Western talk shows. I mean, anything. They just speak it less with each other than NewJeans does. Well, let's see how the others compare. Before we move on, if you're enjoying the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. While my channel is still pretty small, I have a lot more interesting topics planned, so stay tuned. On to the next group.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have time, please?
Yeah, sure, no worries, mate.
Stray Kids. How do you feel about that?
I was like, mate.
I'm a huge fan of Stray Kids too.
Mate!
Hey,
brother!
you're my brother, hey.
Mate!
G'day mates, it's Stray Kids! Here's the 3 hours and 39 minutes of footage I used. And here's the distribution. Make your guesses. Alright, you see this little sliver down here in 8th?
Let's go.
Hi, Chan.
Yep, that's everything. Overall, I'd describe Lino's style as Lino. Oh, and also...
Let's go. Whoa, yeah! Yeah, good man.
Yeah, for IN, let's go with IN. In all seriousness, these two code switch less than once per hour, meaning they really just aren't in the habit of speaking English. That's not a bad thing though. If Lino is ever confused by English, he's supported by the team. And IN seems to have relatively good listening comprehension. One thing I noticed is that neither of them are rappers, which is shaping up to be a pretty good indication of code switching frequency. A lot of hip-hop terms come from English, like
Yo.
so maybe rappers are more used to them. But yeah, these two really don't need a style. They're just who they are. Comfortably in 6th is Changbin. Now, Changbin kept his switches simple, Even though he's a rapper, he really didn't use any hype rap language like I expected. It was more like...
Oh my gosh! 1, 2, 3! Also.
But to be fair, unlike Lisa or Jenny, he raps almost entirely in Korean. I guess Han too, but trust me, we'll be getting to him later. As for Changbin, he definitely has the skills as shown in some interviews, he just doesn't feel the need to use them with his group. Stray Kids does have the highest percentage of non-proficient English speakers that we've covered so far, so it makes sense. All in all, I'd say his style is too busy rapping in Korean. Alright, just above Changbin in 5th is Hyunjin. Now, Hyunjin is about the same as Changbin in terms of frequency. The difference is... yeah. Like, it's literally the word yeah.
Boxing.
Yeah.
Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Empty. Yeah.
Oh, and also,
So sexy. It's very sexy.
I really like that one. Something all his switches share in common is that they're pumping his teammates up.
Nice rhyme.
So I can't think of another better style than Hype Boy.
Yeah.
In 4th is Sungmin. Even though he only lived in LA for 3 months in elementary school, his English pronunciation is close to flawless. What he says though, well...
Hey, Nyangi. Hey, Nyangi. Come here. You did good job, bro.
Oh yeah?
Oh, this is hell car.
He clearly has a certain level of fluency, but since he hasn't lived overseas for a while, he doesn't use it that often. Instead of being a natural habit, English is more of a skill set he has lying around for when he needs it. His style is, well, a lot like Jisoo. I'd say he's very deliberate when it comes to English. In 3rd is Felix, with 13.6% of code switches. Yep, Yongbok is out of the top 2, and by that much. Well, after studying another certain Aussie from NewJeans, I'm not too shocked. I mean, if you're trying to refine your Korean and had an all-Korean speaking friend group, wouldn't you want to, speak Korean with them? Especially after a few years, he's probably gotten in the habit. But he's still all for making voiceovers in his iconic deep voice.
Who obeys Satan on the throne?
And when he's surprised by something, the English will just leak out. As for the style name, let's have some fun and say Korean immersion. At number 2, we have Bangchan. That's right, no Aussies in the first place this episode. Compared to Felix, Bangchan grew up multilingual, so he's much more in the habit of switching back and forth. Think Danielle from NewJeans, or Rosé from BLACKPINK. One thing that really elevates his usage is his relationship with Felix. He uses English to explain things to him, or just connect as bros.
We don't have this in Australia, yeah?
Yeah. There's no razor clams.
I really enjoy seeing Felix and Chan's Australian bubble. It hits even harder if you know what they've been through, but I'm not gonna try to make you cry today. They're such good bros though. Let's put him in the natural category. He fits this style the best out of everyone on the team. Now, through process of elimination, you might know that number 1 is Han.
What's up, man? What's up? What's up?
Yeah, let's go. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, his code switches weren't all just let's goes, but he does implement a ton of hip hop and DJ language. I mean, he is the mood maker.
Put your hands up.
That being said, he does make an effort to switch with Felix occasionally.
As a king, tell something.
Oh, King Felix.
Felix, put your hands up.
And you can tell he just really enjoys speaking it. He actually spent a good chunk of his childhood in Malaysia attending international school, so he's very good at English. He might just stick to more DJ rap-centric words since he's most confident with them. Honestly, I can't imagine a better style for him than Mood Maker. Well, that's our second challenger analyzed. Here's the full data. Adding the 16 words I couldn't identify, because, there's a lot of members, that puts them at 0.44. That's a good amount under Blackpink, so surprisingly low. I guess being made of mostly proficient English speakers really can up the frequency of code switching. But of course, that's just one factor, and frequency isn't everything. Stray Kids still excels in terms of international popularity, and their English level is perfect for all sorts of interviews and fan interactions. The only difference is, they just use it less with each other. Alright, now it's time for our last group, who I thought was the secret weapon for going toe-to-toe with NewJeans. Say it with me. XG! For background, every member of XG is at least Japanese-Korean bilingual, and if we were counting switches between those two languages, I'm positive they would score at least 3 or 4 times above NewJeans. They're code-switching masters already, but that topic is deserving of its own video. If you guys are interested in that, let me know, but today we're focusing on English. While Maya is the only one completely fluent in it, the others know a lot, and they're all used to code switching, so this is going to be interesting. Here's the data. Quite a big difference between members, wouldn't you say? Note, since their only variety show appearance so far was a Korean show, that may have influenced how often they spoke certain languages. But since they're so new, to get enough footage, we just have to use what's available. Here we go. Starting in 7th with 2.8% of switches is Kokona. Now, even though she's a rapper, there's not a lot of data to go off of. Her switches were simple and fairly natural, but it's hard to say much more. Here, I'll play her code switches, and you can tell me what you think. She did speak in English for her intro video.
As for music, I like kpop.
But that was scripted, so I can't count it. Maybe chill? I like that. In 6th, we have our only tie in the video. With 5.5% of switches each is Julia and Hinata. First, let's talk about Julia. Our main vocalist strikes me as someone who, precisely because she's on such a multilingual team, tries to implement English. Here you can see her use it in a letter she wrote for Chisa's birthday.
もう21歳だなんて unbelievable.
And she's far from fluent, but she has confidence as shown in certain interviews.
I can't choose, but
However, she gets the honor of having what might be my favorite code switch in the entire video. Her and Chisa are lifting a piece of furniture up some steps, and then she says this.
one kitten together.
She took tugedan, which means 2 steps, and noticed it sounded like together. What a fun little play on words. As for style, let's go with just for fun. Hinata isn't too much different, but definitely more subtle. A sorry here, a hi there, and a few other instances. Hopefully you see the pattern by now, that just because they sing in English, doesn't mean they necessarily speak in English. That being said, the fact they do use English in their music means they're familiar with a lot of vocabulary. Even the less fluent members don't stick to any one catchphrase. That's one reason why XG is such an interesting group to study linguistically. But as for Hinata's style, it's certainly subtle. In 4th is Jurin, with 6.4% of switches.
What's cooking? It's cooking.
Jurin seems a little bit more confident with her English than the last 3, which, I mean, she exudes confidence in everything she does, so I'm not too shocked. But really, all 4 of the XG members we've covered so far switch in similar ways. We'll put Jurin in the same style as Julia, cause there's very few differences. But now we get into the big leagues, the top 3. We're going to see a serious rise in usage here. Let's get started with Harvey. While Harvey is Japanese-Australian and spent time in Australia as a kid, she said that she's forgotten a lot of English since then. That being said, the influence still remains. You see, there's something different about the way she code switches compared to the other 4. Here, I'll play some examples and see if you can catch it.
So good な一年にしようぜ.
Oh yes!
Did you figure it out? Well, Harvey is our first member in XG to use both languages in the same sentence. These instances really put her a step above the rest when it comes to code switching. Let's get creative with her style. How about flip-flopping? And that brings us to second place. It's, drumroll, Chisa. And Chisa really does it all. She'll say full sentences, mix the languages,
Can you do
or react in English.
Amazing.
She uses it in a bunch of different situations, especially when talking to Maya.
Why? Can you try this?
It's not like she has to, but she takes the opportunity. That makes me think she enjoys switching to English now and then, and is quite confident in it too. So let's give her enthusiastic. And finally, we've reached the last idol in this analysis. Please give it up for Maya.
What? What?
Hold up, it's not that surprising. Her style exemplifies every member of XG, but just turned up to 11.
Remix of Shooting Star! Of course we have a letter for you.
We are Shoshisha.
Wait. Go, Anna! Go! One more point, guys. One more point. Morning, Jazz.
42% of code switches in a 7-member group is ridiculously high. For comparison, one of our biggest switchers we've covered, Lisa, was only barely above that in a 4-member group. While researching, I had moments where I thought Maya would go toe-to-toe with NewJeans single-handedly. I was rooting for her. Being the only member fluent in English means she's the go-to speaker for all English interviews. Pair that with the fact she has the most energy in the group, and you have the highest octane code switcher we've seen to date. And where'd she get those skills from?
I was born and raised in Tokyo, Japan, but I went to an international school, so I always spoke English.
Man, you could have fooled me. She sounds like she's from the States. But the influence international school has had on her vocabulary is evident.
Oh my guys.
Her style is, well, I can't think of anything better than 24/7. Whew, that is every member done. Will Maya have single-handedly put them over NewJeans? Let's put in the numbers, and the 14 I couldn't identify, and 0.65 switches per minute. So no, NewJeans stays on top of the code switching podium, but XG places second just above BLACKPINK. I'd keep a lookout on them though. Their unique position as a global girl group gives them more incentive to learn English than almost every other group. So if we see them on a variety show in a couple years, they might take #1. Now, before we compare everyone, if you haven't seen my NewJeans analysis yet, click the link in the upper right or the description. That video will give you an in-depth analysis on them, and when you're finished, you can click on the link at the end and come straight back to this video. Well, assuming you've seen that, 13.5 hours of data and 24 idols later, let's compare. Here's the switches per minute for each group, and here is every single idol's switches per minute. Notably, people in larger groups are lower down because they need to share screen time with more people. We can see that 4 NewJeans members are in the top 10, while Han from Stray Kids barely makes it. But if we multiply each number by how many people are in the group, which isn't a perfect indicator or anything, but it's just fun to look at, you can see how Maya's frequency to group size is pretty amazing, just beating out Danielle. Still, NewJeans is highest on average though. Back to the actual numbers. If you notice anything interesting about this data, let me know. I'd talk more, but this video is getting long, and I've had enough data analysis for one day. But I was right about NewJeans being a unique case. They really are something special, and I think they're able to connect with fans in ways that are harder for other groups. A lot of their live streams recently have been almost completely bilingual affairs. It might be English comes natural to them, or their company encourages it. Either way, there's no doubt it's a big factor in their rising global popularity. It makes me think we'll be seeing more and more English speakers in K-pop, as the genre continues to thrive on the global stage. I also learned from this project that how often someone code switches is less about how fluent they are, and more about how they've grown accustomed to speaking. Some people know English, but don't see a reason to use it. Some can't help but use it. There's conscious and unconscious factors that influence every human. We're all different.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching again, bros. If you found this interesting, fun, or just want to see more, consider leaving a like or subscribing. I'm excited for what I have planned next, and I hope you enjoy it too. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll be seeing you around. Annyeong!